So, my documentary is called What is Feminism? And I wanted to make a documentary to my viewers, which I made a target audience about, similar to the BBC Three target audience. And I just basically wanted to find out what people actually know about feminism. And from what I've known previously, is that feminism has become such a big topic. I wanted to find out if people truly understand where feminism comes from, and I wanted to see if it is widely viewed as just a trend. So that's how I'll be. That's how I've been going about my documentary for a while now, and I will go through my context right now. So my context, I'll start with my pitch and my initial idea at first. Um, so my pitch, like my original idea about what is feminism, was that I I wanted it to be in the mode of expository, and I wanted it to be very political and ideologistic, with probably the at least 15 minutes. So, like I said before, I wanted to inform and educate my generation on the meaning of feminism, and I wanted my audience to understand where feminism came from and the movements that were made by females in order to get their rights and change society for women. Um, I wanted to show the both sides, like as currently we are probably going through post-feminism. I wanted to show the waves before that as well. So for my research, I wanted to go onto many different sites and a lot of text that I can get as much as possible. I wanted to know the influencers of feminism, social media platforms such as Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, where it is widely spoken about. I also wanted to find out about the pioneers of feminism and aspiring feminists. Um, I wanted my similar products as well. I wanted to watch a lot of films based on women's rights and find out through magazines and online forums how I'm going to um, reach out to people as well who have very different opinions, and pretty much try to know everyone's perspective about how what they think feminism is. Of course, there's a whole majority of what people seem to think about feminism in terms of like the negative side and the positive side of feminism. So for my location recce, I wanted to go to mainstream places such as Leicester Square, Oxford Circus, Shoreditch, Camden, etc., because I believe those were places where it was easier to find more people and have access to um, getting as much information as possible, and finding people with a lot of different views as well. So I wanted to go towards those places where I know it would be easier for me to talk to people. The purpose of my documentary was just trying to understand how society contributes to how people perceive feminism, and how my generation, which at the time I thought it was millennials, but it was actually more towards the BBC target audience, which is pretty much the same. And I wanted to find out if feminism has just become a trend, or people are truly educated about feminism. So I wanted to explore both opinions from both genders, to why feminism is such a big topic and important, to find out um, the political and ideological side of feminism as well. Due to social media platforms and celebrities influencing their audience by what they think feminism is, I also truly believe that that has something that's become a very wide topic in social media today, and I think that that has also led my purpose into finding out why people have suddenly just started speaking about feminism now, and what were the big factors causing it. So, for my primary research, I wanted to go about asking questions like with SurveyMonkey and my focus groups and Vox Pops. But I truly definitely think Vox Pops work a lot more better than SurveyMonkey, because with Vox Pops you're able to hear responses, like full proper responses from people, and I guess it's just more engaging, whereas SurveyMonkey seems to be quite restricting in terms of how people would like to reply, whereas Vox Pop is simply just more direct. So the themes and hooks of my documentary was, I wanted it to be based on the politics, civil rights, pro-feminism and anti-feminism, social impacts, ideology, three ways of feminism, and post-feminism. I did a little bit of research before, and these are the main things that are like very much involved with feminism. So I think it's very important for me to include this in my documentary, to understand the politics and the civil rights and the impacts of feminism and where we currently are today in society. So for my target audience as well, I decided to make it a BBC Three target audience because BBC Three is known widely for the type of content they put out for people, which I wanted it to be very similar, and I wanted to have kind of a similar target audience where they'd be able to engage with my documentary if it was probably to be on BBC Three or some sort. I was just definitely looking for that for those type of viewers. So my similar products, from the Suffragette movie, this movie has also influenced me on going on with this documentary. And by making it a documentary instead of a drama, I felt more confident to do, because with a drama it would seem to have a lot of complications and, you know, trying to find the right person to do the job, and, you know, including some people involved. I felt like it was a very big task for me to do, whereas a documentary, I'm able to just keep adding more information and kind of go with the flow a little bit. So I've decided to kind of push forward with the documentary, and from watching the movies of Hidden Figures, this also kind of um, led me to focus more on how women were treated back then, and I wanted to make a comparison of how women are currently now to how they was back then, and the big changes that we've had, even though we're still not currently at the same like at this we're still not currently where we want to be. And the book The Feminist Theory is a book that was recommended to me by a teacher of mine that has helped me to understand the theories of feminism. And this book also has helped a lot of women in the time of trying to become into the feminist movement and understanding what feminists need to do or just basically as women. So I think that one has helped me a lot with my with what kind of direction I wanted to go towards too. So my research techniques, I will go about on blogs and forums, social media, places, platforms where I'm able to get as much information as possible on different information and opinions. And for the historical context, I'm able to find a lot of information from universities that are studying about the political ideology of feminism and sociology. So that has been quite helpful. And there are very many helpful websites that's helped me to understand the waves of feminism. So my feedback would be from YouTube. I would upload my YouTube video on there and try to get feedback, and also put it on my Wix page from there on. I'll also take a focus group after to get some feedback and edit my final video after receiving my feedback. So my proposal. So while writing my proposal, I found it a little bit hard this time because back then I wouldn't say I was quite confident in trying to make it a documentary or a drama. I wasn't really 100% sure about my idea because I felt like it wasn't really achievable. However, after I had some influences and motivation to carry on the project, I have found my way on how to go about it and how to make sure I receive as much information and research as possible, and go through it layer by layer to understand feminism as well. I've had to kind of re-edit my proposal many times because I still couldn't quite get it. Like, I wasn't sure about my contributor. I wasn't sure about my about how exactly I was going to film this video, what type of event was happening, until I went about and did some more research on how I'm gonna film this and whereabouts, like what types of event I'm going to need to film in order to have that documentary video. So my problem solving log. My problem solving log has been very helpful because for my problem solving log I was able to kind of react more like flexible and think on my feet a lot quicker, whereas before I wasn't able to move past it quite quickly. So if my equipment or any of my resources was to kind of fall down or not be unsuccessful, I wasn't sure how I'd move past it. But now with my problem solving log, I was able to quickly move on from that and resolve the issues quickly as well. From a lot of issues also happened, like on the transport. Like, we had to, on the day of the filming, like we had to take another side of transport which we wasn't too familiar with. Also, the weather wasn't really nice on that day either, so it ended up raining, although we did come prepared for that as well. The documentary itself wasn't really also in a standing position. Since it was a march, we had to keep moving forward and it was very hard to shoot as well. So I think a lot of things did happen, but it wasn't really too severe, like I couldn't handle it anyway. So on to my schedule now. My schedule, I think it was very strong in the beginning because I kind of knew where I was going. The visual research and the contextual research and history of feminism was my main focus throughout the probably the first month of my final major project. It took me a while to actually kind of start the pitch properly because I actually did kind of get a little bit lost in my research since it's such a big topic. I had to take a lot of time off as well because I also did have a job, so there are a lot of things that I started, but they was quite unfinished. So I had to always go back on the Saturday and Sunday to make sure I've covered my work as well, and I had to prepare for my vox pop, which is something I set up with my friends and I in order to get my primary research. I think the vox pop was probably the strongest primary research I managed to attain. Um, so for my script, I had a problem with my script actually. Um, my script had a few issues in the beginning because I wasn't really sure how I was going to how I was going to explain it in a script, like, and even my vox pop script, it was a very although it was easier than the one I did for my march. However, the script had a few issues because I wasn't confident in trying to write it by myself. So I did manage to get some help from a teacher that was very skilled. However, the script also was I think it helped me to become a lot more organized as well. And my QuickTime presentation, that was quite helpful as well because at least I knew where I was kind of going in my direction, and I was able to look back on the first initial ideas that I made and quickly move past it and develop my idea even more. So onto my research. I'll start with my research template because my research template took a lot of time personally for me as somebody who didn't have much time in the first place. I was able to add my primary research, although I think my primary research is not as strong as my secondary research because I find it much harder for me to go out and get that information myself. And with SurveyMonkey, it wasn't as reliable as I thought as well, like I predicted. It was very hard for me to get back responses and trying to have as much different opinions as possible from the people that answered my questions, since they were all similar anyway. I wanted to make sure that I had a lot of responses, which was unfortunate because I couldn't retrieve it somehow. I just couldn't get enough people to answer my survey. So I think because of that, it couldn't have gone as well as I thought. However, my vox pop was quite strong because I met some people who were very willing to talk and they had a lot to say about their opinion. And from the vox pop, I was able to kind of understand how people do feel about feminism and why some people would have their negative thoughts and where it came from. So that would allow me to go into further research on why some people would think that way. So I was able to go back onto the forums and look back and ask some people as well why they think that way. So I think that was quite helpful because there was some kind of misunderstanding between both parties. My test shots as well, just before I wanted to film as well, I did a kind of like a test shot tutorial group with my classmates in order for me, because I thought I was going to interview my contributor, so I wanted to make sure I understood the shots and how to take them when the time comes. So I've added some extreme close-ups and mid shots, and I wanted to include that. I wanted to use some test shots as well from my vox pop, which also kind of turned out well as well. Also for my vox pop, I was able to ask males as well their view as a male on what they think about feminism, which I never really did get any negative feedback. So it seems a lot from that as well that I've learned that people that it's not all males that are against feminism. There are very few people who think such ways, and I was able to help push my idea even further because I was able to show my viewers as well that it's not all just males as well who discriminate against women. The contact with my contributors. I was able to contact my contributor, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get them on board to film, even though I did have a good response back. However, they just didn't get back to me. So I had to think of another idea because time was already running out, as I've already asked a multiple bunch of organizations. My secondary research, however, I think went very well for me because I put a lot of time and effort into my secondary research and trying to understand the contextual research of feminism and the social and ideological context as well. So I was able to go on to the Britain's first feminist and how she and a book about how she's wanted to educate other women as well, and the suffragettes and their big part in the play for women's rights. So from this information of all all the information I've retrieved, I myself was able to understand the deep depths of feminism. I was also a lot like I can also compare like between the UK and USA, like how they did their feminism, how the feminists were back then as well. Although it's not that much different, but I've noticed. I was able to notice how things were slightly done, but at the end of the day, even though they're all fighting for the same cause, I think it was a very good idea for me to kind of, you know, um, kind of expand the horizon with 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 feminism. I didn't want it to be just focused on Britain's feminism. I wanted it to be kind of global because it's not just a UK problem. So the first, second, and third waves of feminism, um, that was something up to the third wave, or maybe I should say the second wave. I was able to understand it quite well. However, I was having some major problems in trying to understand the difference between the third wave of feminism and post feminism because I just thought they were very similar. However, there seems to be a bigger shift between post feminism and the third wave, and I was able to research a lot about the feminists and activists that write books on women's rights, which I was able to try like truly deeply understand and know that this is how women were able to become educated and also like join into the movement of feminism. So my ideas pretty much sprung off from there, that how I wanted my documentary to be. I wanted to make references to the third waves of feminism and post feminism and the suffrage time. So I wanted to pretty much link my questions to my interviewers and have their own opinions on it as well. Seeing as there seems to be a very big confusion between post feminism and feminism, because I've noticed on some forums that people do not agree with it as well. I was able to do my statistical research as well. was very, it was hard for me to find at first, but I'm very glad that I found it because it has helped me in terms of my research. I was able to understand and develop my idea because from the research that I found out about women's job sector roles as well, and the gender gap between the Middle East, North Africa, and the Western Europe, which have the lowest pay gap genders. I've noticed the gap increase as well in other parts of the countries, the ones especially that have so strong cultural backgrounds that also reflect on their work statuses. So yeah, back onto like Naomi Wolf. This was also another author, feminist, and journalist that helped me with my idea because she's somebody who allowed women to feel quite free, and I think this was mostly at a peak time where post-feminism was trying to come out. So I think this one helped me as well in trying to understand the post-feminism. Through the commission process research, I was able to understand how everything is like processed with films, documentaries, and TV series as well. So that's just something that's helped me along the way of my research. My statistical research as well with the job sector roles, that's helped me a lot because I was able to link this to my documentary by asking women and letting them know if they were aware of the job sector roles and the differences that they get paid in, and the differences in job roles that women and men are put in, and that there's not enough women having the same job roles as men who are in high statuses. Also, for my Google Trends as well, I was able to find out a graph of how the way people also search up about related issues of women getting paid less and feminism, and I've also been able to find out about the hashtag Me Too movement, which is something that sprung up around late September, early October, and then that was also followed on by sexual harassment, which is something that also was sparked around similar times. So I think that one is what has also helped me with my research in finding feminism. A lot of feminist posts, especially on social media platforms, were able to talk about this topic, and the topic of women empowerment and women sticking together as well has was something that was very popular with me finding feminism online. So I pretty much found a lot of information from the graphs and the the graphs and bar charts of women from different ages and how they're pretty much being treated. So that's helped me a lot. And the blogs as well, the forums, where I've been able to find a lot of information on how people talk about how women are basically talked about as well. That has truly helped me. I personally like my visual research because the movies I've watched has also helped me to, has inspired me by by the powerful narrative that they've given out. I've been able to find out how women are seen from in movies to real life and how both of them are quite linked. So pushing on with the documentary as well, I was still able to find out a lot of things that my interviewers are allowed to that were able to say, and I was able to ask them and find their opinions on it as well. Just going through it, I noticed how feminism isn't just a political and ideologistic topic. It's something that is has spread around different tops and different types of ways through art and movies and different topics as well. Moving on to my production research now, is I found cameras that are very expensive. However, through the through renting them out, I was able to find the reviews on the cameras that still weren't really that great, but I found cameras that were able to do the job, that were easily rented out per day as well, in order for me to get that great shot and for my videos to look as professional as possible. So most of my things are in my research template as well. So I wasn't really too keen on putting them in separate places because I'd often misplace them or get lost as well.